It's the Irish MAGS Show, episode 124. It is a huge week for the Irish MAGS community. First and foremost, we have smiles because Newcastle won a game of football, which we seem to have forgotten could happen. So there's a turn up for the books. But more importantly, there are huge events happening in the Irish MAGS community. We'll be talking about the Irish MAGS Charity Cup, which is tying in with our OSC trip to the West Ham game. But even bigger news than that, our very own Mr. Alan Williamson. It is his wedding week in just 3 days' time at the time of recording. Alan Williamson will be a married man. Sorry, ladies. He's off the market of the transfer market that nobody was really shopping in.
Latched on and never let go, as they say, yeah?
Exactly, yeah. That window is soon to be closed. I'm Paul, I'll be your host. I am, of course, joined by the big man himself, Alan Williamson, and Crisho as well. And just, Alan, before we get into it, what kind of wedding nerves and jitters are you experiencing? Have you been tempted to go 15 minutes up the road to Dublin Airport and flee the country at any point? Or is it all calm and collected?
Come here, I'm cool, calm and collected. We've a house together, we have a child together. This is the last on the very, very long list of things that we have to do. You know,
to be fair, I wasn't expecting you to be the one to flee, but like, are you sure she's still there?
There's a strong possibility she doesn't show up on Saturday. But come here, what can I do then?
Yes, indeed. Well, fingers crossed she doesn't, and looking forward to an epic weekend for Alan and his soon-to-be wife Emma, and of course Ava as well. And
thank you,
Alan. There'll be a lot of. I'm not married. Crisho will be getting married himself in the not so distant future, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners have gone through it. But what have been the learnings and the experience of preparing for a wedding? What is it that you'll take with you, or that you look back and think, God, fuck that?
Everything is so much more expensive than you think it's going to be.
Yeah, you should have got married about 10 years ago. Because it was a lot cheaper back then.
Good God, everything's just so expensive. But come here, be well worth it. Lifetime of happiness and all that jazz.
Yeah, photos and videos. Just don't pick Dublin, Kildare, or Wicklow. Don't look at those places unless you're a millionaire. Just forget it. Forget it.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's not much better down the west of Ireland either, lads. It's expensive down here.
It's expensive all over this country.
Absolutely. And on a completely unrelated note, and that money will not be resting in Alan's account, we will be talking about the Irish MAGS Charity Cup later in the episode. So keep your eyes and ears peeled for that. That's already gone out into the Irish MAGS group as well. A huge event and the biggest charity event of our annual calendar as well. And I have to say, lads, it's unbelievable the support that's gone in so far. I won't give any spoilers away, but what we've seen in the last few days is what the Irish MAGS community is all about. Amazing. And thank you to everyone who has donated so far. Fair play to you all. But we'll come to that, lads, because we need to get out of our system. We didn't record a pod last week because we were all up the walls busy and none of the days actually suited. And it was also, I felt we were at a point where we couldn't have been more depressed and at the bottom of the barrel in terms of talking about Newcastle United. And it's too soon to think about the summer. We've had a lot of discussion about Eddie Howe. We'll chat about these meetings that have been taking place and some of the information that's been creeping out. But lads, we won a match. Newcastle United 3. Brighton and Hove Albion 1. We'll absolutely take that all day. We hadn't beaten them in what I felt like was about 10 years. And Danny Welbeck didn't score, Alan. Can we just celebrate that?
Oh, that was beautiful because the biggest compliment you can give a player off on their team is just pure hatred because they constantly score or do well against you. And Danny Welbeck is one of them players. I despise the man because he just seems to find the back of the net constantly against us. But we somehow managed to keep him fairly quiet. By no means was a pristine performance, shall we say, but we got the result done. Come here. Brighton were going, could have been level on points with 6th, I think, if they had won that game. That's a massive result for us. Playing ugly, don't care, got a result, and got the hell out of Dodge. It was exactly what we needed. A bit of a tonic to the system, as they say, because we have been shocking the last couple of weeks. So it was well and truly needed.
There was a massive cheer in the Bleecker Street bar when Danny Welbeck got taken off, because it was like, wow, he didn't score and he's actually getting taken off now. That was just kind of the cap of the wonderful day that it was. Yeah, it wasn't pretty, but look, as Eddie Howe said, he went with, which I found a very interesting comment, which I'm sure we can open up, guys, that he went with players that he trusted, which is wow. So that's Murphy, Willock, and Asula, which says a lot for quite a swath of the squad. That he basically told the lads sitting behind him on the bench, "I don't trust you. I trust these guys." But they didn't let him down. They didn't let him down. Murphy could have fallen over like a gom when he got kind of slightly tackled by the keeper. Great cross in. Asula was in the right place, like he seems to be the last while. I can't really down on the guy. I wouldn't really actually like him to be sold now, to be honest. Maybe give him a chance. But look, we'll take the win. It was a good day all around. Me and Al had a right crack. So yeah, it was a good day all around. Very good.
I think Asula is not top, but maybe second in like the goals per minutes ratio of the Premier League this season.
He is. He's only behind
substantially
Haaland.
less minutes than everyone around him. But you have to hand it to him. He has been taking those chances. You know, before with Asula, my biggest issue, apart from him kind of often just looking like he hasn't a clue what he's going to do, has been in the past he probably would only get one chance a game, but he was never taking it. At least he's starting to take the few chances he is getting. And he's repaying the faith in Eddie Howe. But just to stick with that and Christian's point, lads, when I saw the team sheet, I went fucking mental. I'm not going to lie.
It's crazy.
I just couldn't believe what I was looking at. Granted, they did fairly well against Arsenal, and it's a strong Arsenal team and everything that goes with that. But I looked at that front three of Jacob Murphy, Will Asula, and Joe Willock. And genuinely, I was asking people, I was in WhatsApp groups, and I was just saying, lads, would this front three be the front three for any other team in the Premier League? Either individually as players, would any of them get into other Premier League teams? But as a three, how does that front three on paper compare to front threes of any other Premier League team? And even you can go down as far as Wolves and Burnley, and you might kind of say, well, they each have at least one player that you would think might be better. I was baffled, and I just fell back on that exact same point that you said, Krisho. The only justification I had for that team sheet before kickoff was Eddie Howe's just gone, fuck this. I'm playing players. I don't even want to say it's favourites and players that he trusts. It felt like it was, these are the 11 players I know want to be here next season. And you could put a little asterisk on Sandro Tonali there, but it does at times feel like it's more his agent than the player himself. Obviously, we don't know. But Alan, that was my thoughts. It was, you know, looking at the players that were on the bench, and maybe Ramsey is an exception there. But if you're really looking at the players that Eddie Howe either knows want to be here next season, or, and this is interesting, the players he expects to be there next season. That's what it felt like in terms of what motivated that lineup.
That is what I think it was myself. And also giving players who've been showing it in training, because he's been banging that drum about Asula the whole time. He's saying he's showing it in training, the other lads aren't. You have to give him his dues. So that's exactly what you want. You don't want automatic starters on a team sheet. Lads are putting the graft in the training. They deserve a start. Lads aren't. They don't. So, like, I want to see Voltamata start a game. I want to see Ramsey start a game. I want to see Hall play left back. But, lads, we've been crying out for the last, I don't know how long, saying something needs to change, something needs to change, something needs to change. He changed it. And we still
changed. He changed back to what we were doing 3 years ago.
Why did you do it that way? Yeah, but he he gave us the change we were saying. Maybe not the change we were asking for, but he gave us the change, and he got a result. So as I've been banging and saying, I don't want to see Dan Burn play left back ever again for us. He was solid.
He was.
He wasn't solid. He was solid left back for us. I thought he done very well against Minta, bar that one chance in the last minute where I still don't understand how he put it over the bar, but like he done reasonably well against arguably one of the inform attackers in the league. So it's
let's not the candy faucet here. They did have their chances. Like it was, what was it, after like less than 3 minutes, they had a clear-cut chance to go 1-up. That would have been a totally different afternoon.
Yeah.
But it was kind of back to kind of shithousery Mags, kind of. You know, Jason Tindall's giving his socks on the sideline. Dan Burns wrapping lads up with tackles all over the place. You know, Tonali was tough again. Willock showed some good pace and some good trickery down the left-hand side. Things started to kind of work. I don't think the crowd were expecting too much, to be honest with you. There was a bit of a roar, but then it kind of flattened off a little bit, especially after the first 5 or 6 minutes. That Brighton looked very kind of tidy. But look at, we all know the game of football is about results and about taking your chances. And what we've been banging all year, apart from like giving out a bit of results, is that we're not taking the chances that we're creating. And against Brighton, we did take those chances. We took them. We got 3 or 4 and we scored 3 goals.
The other thing is, it's the first time this season that the side we're playing against haven't taken their 2 or 3 chances that we felt like. It's the first time where you can really say, oh, like they squandered a few chances. I can't think of very many other games where you can say, oh, well, they missed a couple of big chances. Every other big chance against us this season ends up in the back of the net.
Well, that's usually because we are the gift that keeps on giving, and
Oh,
we
yeah,
make it easy for teams to take chances. you know?
Absolutely.
That's the other thing. And I think there was a little bit of lady luck and fortune with us. Like
Yeah.
that, I think we were 1-0 up. We'll come back to the selection in a minute. I have a few other questions, but that at that point we were 1-0 up, I think, and Nick Pope kind of makes the balls of it, and then it bounces in and it hits the post.
Oh my God.
For the other 34 games this season, that ends up in the back of the net, and I felt like that Brighton game was where we finally just had a little bit of luck to counter our incompetency at times.
Can you believe, lads, that, like, I don't know about you, Paul, I think you were, because we got in touch with you afterwards. Me and Al were like, wow, we're staying up. That was the relief after the game.
Like,
we're actually,
how do we get
staying
there?
up. Yeah, I mean,
but if you look at it now, we can technically still be relegated and still get Champions League football this season. Now, like, the likelihood of either of them happening is slim to none. But mathematically, we could still be relegated and still qualify for the Champions League. There's 3 games
And
left.
the table is a bit mad, really, when you look at it. And, teams can take points off each other. Like, a win and we could suddenly be in the top 10. 2 wins, we could end up in, 8th place. There's Europe. There's talks of certain permutations could mean that the top 10 teams all get into Europe, depending on who wins the Europa League and the Conference League and all that kind of stuff, plus different teams in finals. So there's no point even trying to think about the mathematics. We'll end up having equations floating around our head like your man in The Hangover. But it's a crazy league. But despite all of that, we're the position we're in is entirely our own fault in terms of what's brought us to here. Great to beat Brighton, but for us to be sitting there and have a sense of relief that we can't now get relegated, really, we really shouldn't be here. That's like that priest and father I really shouldn't be here. We really, really shouldn't be where we are. Just Al, on the selection, we were talking about there the players that Eddie Howe maybe he trusts, or like Trisho said it there, we're taking our chances. We scored 3 goals with Anthony Gordon on the bench, Anthony Elanga on the bench, and Nick Voltemade on the bench. And when I say on the bench, I mean they didn't come on. So not only is Eddie Howe choosing not to start those players, and granted things went well on the pitch, so he didn't maybe need to go to choose them, even though it was only very late when Harvey Barnes scores. But there's a big message there with Gordon, Voltemade, and Elanga not getting called upon at all, surely.
There isn't. The Gordon one, I'd be less inclined to say there's a reason. He's only back from fitness or coming back to fitness. Voltemade just seems to be 4th choice striker now, which I don't see as fair at all. He hasn't started up front since about January at some stage. I think that was the last time he started up front for us. He hasn't gotten a fair crack at a whip in my eyes. When he was playing up front, we were doing okay. He kind of dropped out of the team and back to his midfield position. Just hasn't worked. He's not an Eddie Howe striker, and that's the heel of the hunt. He is not the running focal point that we need, and I don't want it to happen, but I think it's time we just say, okay, tried, failed, move him on, see what we can get for him in the summer, and sorry about that.
Well, if that is the case, if it is, because it does feel like it felt like Eddie Howe was willing to give him a go, and then at whatever point, and I don't want to say it was the own goal against Sunderland, but since that point, it just feels like Eddie Howe's made his mind up and said, nah, he went with Gordon for quite a long time. He wanted to have the pace up front, and then obviously Asula now. But like, if Eddie Howe is going to stay, which we'll come back around to in a moment, then it doesn't make sense. Like, Voltemade shouldn't even really want to be there. He should be saying, well, look, this manager doesn't see me as being his striker. I already heard today that Bayern are back interested in him again, and apparently they were before. But it wouldn't make any sense for him to be here next season if Eddie Howe is here next season, because of all the things we know about Eddie Howe, Krisho, he's quite stubborn. He's quite committed to his ways, has a very strong belief in his belief.
Yeah.
And the very odd occasion where he takes a chance, if it doesn't work, he reverts back, and then that's the end of it. So I don't see him taking much risks with Voltemade or changing the team around him.
Like, do we really believe like that this was like an actual Eddie Howe signing? I mean, he clearly signed off on it. He clearly had a look at whatever tapes they showed him and whatever games they showed him and whatever analytics they showed him. But I mean, to get it so like to replace Isak with someone of the style of Voltemade, frankly, when you really think about it, just doesn't make any sense. Because Eddie Howe, I think, just wanted to kick on and keep playing the same football like when we had Isak up front, but yet buying a completely different player to slot into that. It was like, and then panicking on the last day.
He was
buying
sixth choice, I think.
Of the people we went for, yeah.
Yeah, so like I don't think you can say like,
well, yeah, like Sesko, Joe Pedro, Liam Delap. Who else, lads? We were linked with Nicholas Jackson at one point.
Like there was that many players we were linked to. Like it was every other striker under the sun was linked to us, and then Voltemade arrived through the door. Like, so I wouldn't say he was incredibly high on the list. I'd say it was more of a, we need a striker now. Who can we get in? He will do. I think that's what that was.
Yikes. I mean, talk about short-sightedness. I mean,
well, that's what happened, right? It was I mean, when he was signed, it was literally days in the window.
Yeah.
Obviously, Wissa came in with minutes in the window, and you know, we all know that Wissa was planned to be Callum Wilson's replacement, not Isak's replacement. So it was a panic buy, I think. But
I think Wissa's going to have more of a chance to stay. I think Wissa's going to have more of a chance to stay than Voltemade is. I think
well, that's probably because nobody's going to come in. Nobody's going to come in for Wissa when you look at the chances he's missed and everything that's transpired for him this season. It's hard to picture anyone really coming in for Wissa, bar like a Turkish club or something kind of silly like that. But and whether he'll want to do that is a different question.
Your question about like the three lads sitting on the bench, right? And they didn't even get a chance. And then Eddie Howe was asked about the summer window and you know what's coming up in terms of activity. And he said he wants to do a drip feed approach. So it's not like as if they're going to go out in the summer and bring 10 players in and let 10 go. But if you really look at it, I can't believe that because there has to be a major overhaul done in the summer, unless he's going to do it over the two windows. So they'll line a couple more up in January as well. But I know he doesn't really like doing that. So
we're not big January spenders. We never have been a January kind of a club, you know. I think Gordon was a January signing, wasn't he?
There has to be 6 or 8 players.
Yes, he was.
There has to be 6 to 8 players coming in, you know, because it's not working. Like look at any other day, like we've already just discussed, we could have lost that Brighton game. It was either going to be 2-2 or it was going to be 3-1 to Newcastle, or sorry, 3-1 to Brighton. But
how many times have we said this season where we've lost games? We should have won that game. We should have been 2 or 3 up before we were 2-1 down. We've thrown away 20-odd points from winning positions. Yeah. It just looked like it was finally the game where they dug in and went, we cannot throw this away again. We nearly did. The Brighton
goal, tried to a little bit, yeah.
The Brighton goal was amazing. It's not getting talked about enough. I know Nick Pope skied the ball into the air, but I think there was 7 passes in about 10 seconds before the ball was in the back of the net, and it was just a sublime little well-worked goal. It's not getting the plaudits it deserves because it absolutely tore through us like we weren't there. Well back with a little round the corner pass. It was a great finish, and it was just a smashing goal. Hate when goals going against you, you're like, but that was a class goal. Another Nick
He's a good player,
yeah. Another Nick Pope disaster class. Like I don't understand how a professional footballer can't kick a football. It doesn't make any sense, but it is what it is, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's no changing that anytime soon.
No.
And I mean, I think you're speaking of plaudits as well. I mean, Jacob Murphy's been getting a lot of praise as well, saying he could have gone when he went down, but he should have stayed down. But he gets up and he crosses that ball, and obviously Asula gets a header. Good delivery for Dan Byrne. I think Bruno had a couple of corners in succession that were pretty good. So nice to see a score from one of those, and obviously Harvey Barnes then with a banger of a goal to wrap things up. But on the topic of players, starters, and next season especially, Alan, I wanted to bring up one Lewis Hall because this has kind of just happened without any warning. Normally, when particularly Lewis Hall, because he's probably been arguably our best player for the last like 18 months, and anytime he's gone out of the squad, it's because of an injury, and it's always like we don't find out until the day of the game that suddenly he's just not there. This looks different. This is Eddie Howe dropping him in favor of Dan Burn. There's all kinds of rumors going around that there was a row after the Bournemouth game. There's discussions about whether Hall might be looking for a move or whether other clubs are interested. In this game, he comes on about 70 minutes into the game. So it's not the most obvious as to what's going on, and I'm not too sure what to make of it. Like, you wouldn't have thought that Lewis Hall is the one pushing for a move. You would have thought it's more on the Tino Livramento side of things. But suddenly now Hall is dropped, and
I can tell you that Hall hasn't pushed for a move, because if he had, Craig Hope would have had 800 tweets about it by now. Yeah. That's how you would have now. Like the beacons of Gondor would have been lit. They would have been like, more bad news. Get that on Twitter. Let's win another day for someone. So that's how I see it. It hasn't come out on Twitter. Craig Hope or one of the other lovely journalists hasn't lit the beacons and gone, here's more bad news to you lads. So I think Byrne coming in was purely, I want to get the 6'7" man back in so we can be absolutely rock solid at the back. I think that's all it was.
So he wants to play Botman, and in order to play Botman and Byrne has to go left back.
I think that's exactly what it is.
You'd wonder how Lewis Hall would react to that, Chris Shaw, especially, number one, he's highly regarded, highly sought after, I think, based on his performances. But the big one, got this World Cup in the summer. That left back spot is up for grabs. Nico O'Reilly looks the most likely, but even he's been playing midfield for Man City at times. But you'd imagine Nico O'Reilly is the man that will end up starting left back for England. But Lewis Hall at one point, a couple of weeks and months ago, was really making a statement and making a name for himself to be chosen in that spot. I think he will make the squad, but for this to happen now, it doesn't bode well for his chances of starting for England at that World Cup. And why is that relevant to us? Would that piss him off enough to go, you've ruined my England chances, Eddie, I'm out of here?
Well, if there nowhere else we could have played him, could we not have played him on the left wing or something, or at least put him in somewhere? He's quality enough. He's got great crosses. He's got good link up play. Could we have put him somewhere? I understand the Dan Burn thing. He needs
square holes, round pegs.
He has played midfield, like when he was young and stuff,
winger,
and they tried. He was playing as a centre mid in like the academies and stuff at Chelsea at times, and he came like, I remember that Dortmund game where he was hooked at half time playing midfield for us, wasn't it, about 2 seasons? Eddie Howe sees him at all as being a midfield option realistically, and probably doesn't need to because we are relatively stacked in midfield. It's just the timing of it really is interesting on both parties' side. What the hell is going on here?
I really don't see. He seems like a very level-headed young man, and he is a very young man, and his family are Newcastle people. I seriously don't see him falling out with anybody. If your boss came to you and said, I need to play this guy instead of you, even though you're doing very well, thanks, great, but we need to play him, we need results. All right, yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, great. I'll sit here, give me a shout when you need me. I don't see Hall throwing toys out of the pram and giving out ding dong and storming around and all this storming the teacup stuff. He's only a young man, and Eddie Howe's given him the platform to be, viewed, coached into him to be viewed as one of the best left backs in the Premier League. He'd be basically pissing on his own doorstep, essentially, if he did kick off about that stuff. He has to understand as a professional footballer that sometimes, even though he's playing well, we need to play somebody else because he's 6'7", and we need some help in the box, with long throws and nonsense. Kind of what I'm expecting Notts Forest to throw at us. We'll talk about it later, but I see Dan Burn starting that game as well because they'll throw the kitchen sink at us in that game. So,
and this is it. Does this mean it is Dan Burn, considering we've 3 games left, and then what we haven't spoken about? Like, if I'm what's your man's name? Is it Richard Hughes, the Liverpool sporting director? Like, if I'm him and I'm looking at it going, right, Kirk hasn't been great for us. Andy Robertson's out the door. Robertson. I'd be saying, right, well, if this guy doesn't start the next few games and therefore it impacts his World Cup chances, I'd be coming in going, right, hey, Lewis, come be left back for us. Like, there's an opportunity for another club.
How much would we ask for? Honestly, how much would we ask for?
I mean, for a player his age and the fact that he's English,
100 million.
you'd be looking at. I don't think you get anywhere near 100 million, to be honest. Like whether we think he's worth it or not, but I think
33 or 34 for him. Like
if there was a double your money situation here, I think that the club wouldn't say no. Personally,
I'd want 80.
Not about what he's worth. I just think that's what they take.
I'd want 80.
But Kirkes was 60. Do you know what I mean? Wasn't he?
I'd want 80.
Be interesting to see what happens, but we'll be doing transfer talk in a few weeks' time. We had planned to maybe do it sooner, but there's just too much going on. I think we need to ride the season out and see what happens. As it stands, lads, I'm looking at the league table here on my other screen. 13th in the league with 3 games to go. We're on 45 points. It's only 2 points ahead of Leeds, however we got there. And as we said, there are 3 teams ahead of us on 48, which is only 1 win away. Chelsea, Everton, and Fulham, and Chelsea are in 9th. So the maximum points we can get from this season would be 54. If every other team lost in front of us, that would put us in 6th. However, we don't think that's going to happen. But yeah, if we can put together a couple of wins, starting with Forest, and we'll come back to Forest at the end of the show, maybe we can creep back into the top 10 and put some kind of sense of respectability on the season. But I think no one's going to dispute that overall it has been a disappointing season, which has led to those talks in that castle that I can't remember, Mapfin Castle, or whatever. Matfin. And we'll circle back on that as well, because I want us to take a little break from the football talk, because we have an exciting topic to cover, which is, of course, the Irish MAGS Charity Cup, our second Charity Cup, if I'm right.
Yes.
And this one is going to be bigger and better than ever. So we'll be right back to discuss that in more detail. A huge thank you to our podcast sponsors of the Irish Mag Show. The Half Volley, providers of high-quality, customizable clothing and merchandise, catering for all sports teams, businesses, social clubs and events. FSH Training Limited, a team of expert frontline paramedics and firefighters delivering first aid, fire safety, manual handling and patient handling for all business environments. And JH Fitness, an Irish-based online coaching business specialising in sustainable fat loss, lifestyle change and long-term health for real-world men and women. Support local. Check out all of our partner sponsor links in the podcast description. Welcome back to the Irish MAGS Show. It is time to talk about the biggest event of the year. Certainly,
Alan Williams' wedding.
MAGS calendar. Alan Williams' wedding. It's not even Chrisho's birthday. It is, of course, the Irish MAGS second annual Irish MAGS Charity Cup, which is taking place in Newcastle. Alan's going to talk us through the event. But as you can see on the screen here, if you are watching on YouTube, this is our second annual Charity Cup. And this time around, we are supporting 3 charities, which are the Newcastle United Foundation, Féileacáin, and Grow Mental Health. This Charity Cup will be taking place on the weekend of the West Ham game, which is the 16th of May. And as you can see also on the screen, we're going to talk about donations in a moment. There are some fantastic prizes going for this as well. Speaking of prizes, I know Alan is going to start talking about the prizes he won at last year's tournament. But Alan, before we give you that stage, talk us through the event itself on the day, what it looks like with respect to the match itself, and we'll allow you then to drift into your memories of last year's event.
So there will be 2 Irish MAG sides, as the same as last year, and potentially 4 other sides. So I am not 1,000% confirmed on who is and who isn't playing, so I'm not going to make a fool of myself. But basically the way that the weekend is, or the day is going to go, we have 3 hours in the Newcastle United Foundation. The matches are going to be 5 or 6 minutes a half. It was 6 minutes a half last time. And everyone always says, it's only 6 minutes. Every single player was dying after 6 minutes. So yeah, I don't mind what you say. Like, it's... I know it's up and out. You're up on the roof of the Newcastle United Foundation. There's a bit of altitude and all. Like, it's tough going, but it's great crack. 2 halves obviously play 3 to 4 games, semi-final, final. Hopefully the Irish MAGS win it again. But it's the most important aspect of this whole thing are the charities. That's all we really want here. Is we want to donate as much as we possibly can to these charities. We haven't set ourselves a goal, if you know what I mean, but we just want to beat last year's donation target, which I think was €2,200. I'm not 100% sure on what we got last year. I think it was 2,200. We want to beat that. That is the goal of this year. Beat what we got last year, make as much as we possibly can, and give as much as we possibly can to as many charities as we can. The two in Ireland, the Newcastle United Foundation, they're all amazing, amazing charities, and that's the real aspect of this that we want to push as much as we can. Yes, the day out playing football is a bit of crack, but that's the real aspect of it that we want to talk about.
Yeah, I agree. And as we said at the top of the show, it's what the Irish MAGS community is all about, as much as it's about following Newcastle together and riding the highs and the lows that are consistently there as a group. And when you have a big group of people with a shared interest like that, we're in a fantastic position to do loads of work for charity. We do loads of it during the year. We're going to shout out Colin McCabe for all the events that he runs, particularly around the Last Man Standing and all of those events as well. And as we said, this is basically where it all kind of comes to a climax, which is the Charity Cup. And Alan was talking about donations there. I'm going to, again, bring this up on screen. There will be a link to our GoFundMe donation link in the description of the podcast, no matter where you are watching or listening. And just to take a look at the GoFundMe page, lads, on the screen as of this exact moment, which is quite late on a Wednesday night, way past both of your bedtimes. As it stands, and again, as we said, we don't have a target. Our mission was to beat last year, where we raised over €2,000. And already in just a couple of days, with still a week and a half before the cup takes place, we've raised just shy of €1,800. I say we've raised. Everybody listening has raised that. Everybody who's donated, everybody in the Irish MAGS community, those donations have brought us almost within that 2K to meet and beat last year's target already. And it's been open for, I want to say, about 3 days. It is an unbelievable representation of what the Irish MAGS do, unbelievable generosity to show what we can do as a group as well. And as we said, we want to keep those donations coming in. If you haven't already, all donations, any size whatsoever, are absolutely welcome. And by the looks of it, lads, if we can keep the momentum going with the time that's left and the cup itself on the day, we look set to beat last year's donation.
Fantastic.
I just want to give one special shout out, which you've probably seen there, which was Peter Dillon's NYC, and people are probably going, who's he, what's he? That is the bar that the New York MAGS drink it.
It's the New York Bleaker.
It's the New York Bleaker, that's exactly what it is. But they donated €300, which was an absolutely amazing shock to the system. So a massive shout out and thank you to the New York MAGS, because that was just amazing. It's exactly what we want to see, and it's MAGS helping MAGS, and that's exactly what we want. The more the merrier and all that jazz, but it's brilliant.
Love it.
And there's some big old donations on there. I'm not going to start reading names. It's all visible on the page itself, but you know who you are, those of you. And as we said, it's not about the size as well. Whatever you can donate, please donate. This is a numbers game in terms of we have a big old supporter group in the Irish MAGS community. And the more, the better. It'll all go to very special cause. And everything is going, as we said, to those three charities as well. Féileacán and Grow, and of course the Newcastle United Foundation.
It'll be some weekend, let's be honest. It's a Saturday, the match is on the Sunday. Obviously the kickoff got moved. Could put a bit of our plans in the scupper there about how to get home, because the only flight on the Sunday night back to Dublin anyway was 7:30. There's no way you're going to make that at a 5:30 kickoff. But to start off the whole weekend, there must be like 60 of us going, I think, nearly 50, 60 or more maybe on the Saturday morning. Frankly, I'm a bit wary about it. I used to play a lot of football, but I haven't played football in a while. This is the first time anyone's going to see me without my hat on, which is going to be quite a shock to the system, I think, for everybody, because I can't wear a hat playing football.
I've seen it and can confirm it is a shock to the system.
It is.
You'll see it at Al's wedding as well, which it's going to be quite scary.
Drop for a barber springs to mind.
Yeah, or Tintin. I might bring my dog Snowy. Tintin. But it's just really great, like, to see that we've got like an activities day on the Saturday, the Charity Cup, bringing everybody together, go out then together for the Saturday and have a good crack and talk about the matches and stuff. The whole, like you said, it's bringing it to a climax, the whole sense of community, and then involving ourselves with the Newcastle Foundation. And then on the Sunday, we wake up, have a nice bit of breakfast, and get ourselves ready for another win, I hope. On Sunday, and then we crawl back home on Monday morning at 10 a.m. Well, let's hope we make it home on the Monday morning. But like, what a thing to look forward to coming up to the end of the season. This is what the community is all about.
Yeah, massive weekend, and with the game as well. So the game, as we said, it's 5:30 on the Sunday. Playing West Ham. I mean, I think I'm just looking at the table. There is a world where we could relegate West Ham on the day, as much as we wouldn't want to do it to Callum Wilson. They're in the depths of it, but equally that gives them a hell of a lot to fight for against us as well. So
that's why Sky Sports moved it.
Big game.
That's why they moved it. They know that there's something on this.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot of
for the fans. Yeah, sound lads.
Yeah, sound lads. Yeah, exactly.
Costing me a poxy fortune the week after me wedding. That was sound.
Get divorced before you're even married.
Yeah, exactly.
Where's the honeymoon now? Well, I'm going to Newcastle actually. Playing the charity cup.
That was a
only one of us can go though.
Someone, are you doing it? And I was like, I'm going to Newcastle the week after. I'm like, you're and I was like, yeah, I know.
Wow.
Fair enough. It's fair enough indeed. And just to round it off, Al, for people who haven't experienced it or haven't been there, just to know what it's like. So obviously you played in the Charity Cup last year. Was it Danish MAGS and London MAGS?
So last year it was War Flags.
Yes. 2
Irish MAGS teams and the Tyneside Irish Centre. And it was the Tyneside Irish Centre versus my Irish MAGS team in the final. Ooh. And my Irish MAGS team won.
He got the opportunity to show the trophy on the screen. There's a trophy, by the way, folks.
And the second trophy of me being the top goal scorer somehow by standing on the 6-yard box and tapping the ball into the net. Big thanks to Jock for setting me up for me 7 goals that day.
The St. Maximin and Callum Wilson of the Irish MAGS team.
Yeah.
No, honestly, it's a great day. It's brilliant. Even just to go to watch, like, the amount of people that had just, like, the Danish MAGS did come up and watched us, and they were kind of raging they didn't bring gear to play. They were like,
that's why I knew they were there.
That's they were there watching us, and we were like, why didn't you play? And they were like, we don't know. But yeah.
Are runners okay? Like, just wearing normal, like, runners? Like, you
can. But one of the lads wore runners last year and found out very, very, very quickly why you don't wear runners playing Astro, because he went arse over elbow and gave himself the most rotten Astro burn on his arse cheek as I've ever seen. So buy yourself a pair of Astros. If you were playing, go into Sports Direct, or about 25 quid. It'll be the best 25 quid you ever spent, because you do not want to go and watch 90 minutes of football the day after, burning yourself, having to sit on your arse with a big burn on it. Let's be honest about it. So just go in and buy yourself a pair of Astros. Not that hard.
Right. Okay.
Disposable Astros.
Yes.
That is good.
Alan, you might have to put Christian in goals, but we'll see what happens today.
He's not on my team. I've already Bagsy them not on my team.
What? No, come on. No. I was really good, honestly. I was really good. I have the lung capacity of an 85-year-old, so that's where my problem lies. Still got the skill, just can't breathe.
That altitude is coming for you.
We'll see.
We'll be getting them. We'll be getting the match reports in the week, in the days, in the week following it, and we'll do a full breakdown on the podcast here after the event has taken place. But Christian, if you are on the opposition team, you now know that Alan is a goal hanger. All you need to do is just mark him, and that'll be good.
I'm gonna Vinnie Jones him. I'm gonna Vinnie Jones him, the Paul Gascoigne stuff, Gaza style. I'm gonna go bam.
Oh, lads.
Oh, God,
the red card will be shown in the game between the Irish MAGS and the Irish MAGS. Whoever saw that coming? Right. Well, best of luck to everyone that's involved, playing, supporting, traveling to the game. And again, just one last thank you to everyone who's donated so far, everyone who's donated in the past, everyone who's going to donate in the future. It all adds up to a massive event. And this is a big event as well, because the club are fully on board and supporting this, fully aware of what we're doing, fully aware of what we did last year. As well. So it's all in conjunction with the club and, of course, the Newcastle United Foundation. Right, lads, speaking of foundations, Eddie Howe. So we have a big game coming up this weekend again against Nottingham Forest, a team that we usually kind of do okay against in recent seasons, at least. They have found some form in the last few weeks and months. They do have, at the heart of their midfield, one of our own, of course, in Elliot Anderson. Never mind Chris Wood's floating around there. Matt Sells is floating around there, although the less said about his time in Newcastle, the better. However, now that we've beaten Brighton, now that these meetings have taken place seemingly with all the Saudi owners, there was apparently a group of about 20 of them over for the Brighton game. They had their talks in the castle a couple of days before the game, which to me didn't make any sense as to why it was happening now and not at the end of the season. But what we're starting to hear, Alan, are whispers that Eddie Howe will be the man in charge next season. So it kind of overrides the question of does defeat against Nottingham Forest away have any impact on Eddie Howe's future? Does where we finish in the league have any impact? Because there's whispers that everyone's kind of looked at it and went, it's been a shit season. It wasn't good enough. Next season has to be better. And if it ain't, that's it.
Yeah.
Is that to be believed? Do we think that's going to be the case? And how likely is it that Eddie Howe will be in the hot seat come August next season?
I think it's fairly certain that he's going to be in the hot seat. From what I've heard, from what I've read and what I've seen online, basically the PIF Saudis are very data driven, and basically the data from our performances doesn't match up to where we are in the league. That if it matched up, we would be significantly higher, which is, I think, what they go. They're like, look, you've had a bad season. We'll give you the benefits, get you back, get you doing see what we get out of you next season. So it's I'm happy to see Eddie getting another chance. I've been saying it the whole time. I did think there was a very, very brief period. I was like, I think it could be time that he could go, but I never wanted him to go. But I'm just happy that the noise is coming out now where Eddie will be the man in the hot seat come August, and it's exactly what we need. It's a bit of stability. We know what's going to happen. Like, the club are never going to come out and say Eddie Howe is going to be in charge, because God only knows what will happen tomorrow. There's no point doing nothing like that. Just, it's not a done thing. But the whispers coming out are, barring an absolute catastrophic meltdown, Eddie will not be going anywhere. And that's not to say that Chelsea, Man United, Real Madrid, anyone comes in for him and he doesn't go. I kind of fancy a bit of that. And that could well happen. Club could come in and go, that wouldn't be the worst thing for us, because we'd be getting money for the manager instead of having to pay him money for sacking a manager. So it's not the worst thing in the world. But I'm happy to say that Eddie will be in charge, and that's exactly what we need, because it gives players, fans, everything, right, let's go. And now, don't get me wrong, if he's a bad start to the season, he probably has 10 or 12 games. Sort it out, or you're in serious trouble. But from what I've heard and what I've read, he has till the December anyway. And that's what we need.
Krisho, are you happy about it? And also, before I give my opinion, do you think that this is a good thing or a bad thing in terms of our what we've just said is a massive transfer window, right? So let's say we don't get Europe, or if we do, we might scrape into a Conference League. But even that, you think that other teams are going to pick up points. If your prospective Newcastle targets, bearing in mind we struggled to get a lot of big targets last summer when we knew we had Champions League football, I suppose my question is, if we had a different manager come in, and we've talked about potential managers in the past, if you're a player looking at Newcastle, are you looking at going, do I want to go and play for that guy that's been there for ages, that had a shit season last season and that other players don't want to play for? Or if a new manager came in, would it have more of a sense of, okay, well, there's a new phase of this project starting off, I want to be there when it starts?
I don't think that, well, first of all, I'm very happy that Eddie Howe will be given the chance he's built up enough credit. It's been a very poor season, don't get me wrong, and he'd be the first person to say it. That's what I like about the man. He doesn't shy away from things like that. He kind of stands up and goes, no, this was terrible. We've all been terrible. I've been terrible. The players have been terrible. In relation to, like, I don't think phase two, in any of the PIF discussions, phase two had anything to do with replacing the management. I think it was bringing more people in to support the management. This is where I think that the summer last year, we can clearly see, was a catastrophe. The PIF know it. Everyone involved with the club knows it. The fans are certainly letting their feelings known about it now anyway, because of what it's resulted in. But they've got the structure. I do believe we have the structure in place to get the summer right. So, as Al said, they're data-driven people. They know it just hasn't worked out this season. Even though, give us the 25 points that we handed away during the season, where would we be? 4th or 5th or something like that. And quite a successful season. Yeah, quite a successful season. Champions League, semi-finals of this cup, so on. I can't see them making such a wholesale change. And they're not obviously going to turn around and give him 350 million quid. But I think he knows himself that there definitely will be 2 to 3 kind of gobsmacking sales made. And I think we all know who these people probably are. But with Ross Wilson in place, I'd really like to think that like we'd act fast and have 5 or 6 players lined up that Eddie's happy with, young, have potential, have a high ceiling for potential and delivery of what he needs, and give the guy the shot. But I'm with Al as well on this again, and it's very rare that I would be, but I'm with Al with this, that he probably does have until Christmas time. If we're 13th or 14th at Christmas time next year, he is definitely not going to be the manager. To be completely ruthless, he'll be just chopped, gone.
Just on something you said there about Ross Wilson, I think Eddie's, I won't say stranglehold, because he had a hold of the transfer kitty last year and who we were going after, and it was an awful lot of input. I think his input, I think he would have been told this at this. No, it hasn't come out. This is me hypothetically thinking. I think at this PIF meeting, I think Eddie Howe was told, look, you had your couple of years of your input on the transfers. We're going back to our data driven. This is what we're doing. Like it or lump it. This is how it's going. And I think this will be the biggest shift we'll see. I can see us maybe bringing in one, maybe £50 million player, but I can see us bringing in 4 or 5 £30 million players that don't exactly light the world on fire, but fit straight into the squad and become key essential components to the team. Like that, it's Devan Maitide or whatever he's playing over in France. He had a nasty knee injury. He just looks like he'd plug in and play, literally slot in and be a replacement for Tino Livramento. There's going to be players like that, and that's exactly what I think we need. We need to get away from buying name players, the Wisses, the Alangas. Go out and sign a Ryan for 30 million, and if he works, you have a £70 million player that you got for 30 million quid. We need to be doing that.
Yeah,
I just don't connect those two things with Eddie when Eddie Howe is one of them. I find it really hard to connect these slightly more unknown, like quote marks, riskier transfers. And what we saw it. Like we signed Sven Botman, we signed Anthony Gordon, like players who were very, very well known, very, very highly regarded. And Eddie Howe still took his time, embedding them into the squad. And it took Eddie Howe a while to be comfortable to start them. Now, that said, Malik Chow came in more out of necessity than anything, but went straight into the team. But had Fabian Scher and Dan Byrne had been constantly fit, if Lascelles was even ready to play, like would he have gone and turned to Malik Chow that quickly? I don't know, and I'm not convinced. And I'm arguably, lads, and I'm going to put it out there, I'm probably not as happy that he is staying if that is the case. I just feel like that doesn't really trigger an evolution, even if you have other, Ross Wilson or whoever bringing in different types of players and they're trying to evolve how we do things and the type of players you bring into the club. You still have that battle with this guy and how we play and his trust levels and his propensity to take risks and make certain changes. I'd love to be proven wrong and I'd happily be proven wrong, but I just I haven't seen enough to think that we will do anything different than putting all our eggs in the plan A intensity press basket with the same formation. We need players to fit that formation, which we don't have this season realistically because the window wasn't great. So it all relies on that connection happening, that the players can fit Eddie's system, because I don't really see Eddie Howe doing a lot to change to suit certain types of players when other clubs have and other clubs do and other clubs will. So I still feel, it goes back to that question I asked Krisho, if we had somebody else come in, whether that's an Iriola or a Simone Inzaghi or whoever,
Nagelsmann.
To me that's kicking off something a lot different and a lot newer. But at the same time, does that mean we would do better next season than if Eddie Howe was there? Maybe not. So there's a lot of give and take. And who am I? I'm sitting here in my house talking about Newcastle United. So who am I to comment? But that's just how I feel, kind of really, about whether this changes anything.
I think the owners look at they wanted to get the message out anyway. Look at that, they're still invested, they're still working towards the future, they're still ready to front up for a stadium, they're still ready to improve the training, and there will be money to be spent in the summertime. But yet there'll have to be player trading involved. Look, let's be honest. With what happened to Darren Eales, dreadful, right? But before it was mentioned that he had a sickness and so on, things looked a little bit unusual. Murdad and Amanda, things were a little bit unusual. Something along those lines of what was reporting back into PIF, something was wrong, or there was too much power given to such a small percentage of ownership. And
maybe bad appointments. Dan Ashworth was a bad appointment. Paul Mitchell was a bad appointment. It's too soon to say whether Ross Wilson was a good appointment or not. Maybe he ups and leaves in 3 months' time and we're back in square one. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah, but it's just anyhow. Like, I understand what you're saying, Paul. Like, how are we supposed to evolve as a football club, and how is it supposed to etch into phase 2 if we're sticking with the same tired idea of playing 4-3-3? We're not going to be in Europe. Maybe we're not going to be in Europe. So we'll have more time on the training pitch with them, and bring in some guys with potential. But what's not to say that the front three of the first game of the season is not Murphy, Willock, and Asula, even with buying players in the summertime. I mean, I know it's an astounding thing to say, but it's just. Did anyone see Wiss's interview that he did?
Yeah. Blowing smoke was on arse in my eyes.
Yeah.
That's rubbish.
Yeah, but he said he should never have come back. He came back far too early. Like, he kind of made a suggestion that he was dragged back in. He had to start playing, which, how long did he want to be out for? Like, the season? Like a year, 2 years?
To be fair, he did do a knee injury. That they can be horror, but that whole interview I thought was just real PR-driven interview. He didn't say anything astounding that you wouldn't expect him to say. It was more smoke just being blown up his arse and a couple of other players' arses. Like, I wouldn't be reading too much into that. But just on your thing there, I think next season, first game of the season, I think we see 5 new players start that first game.
Wow!
I'm going to clip that moment that you've just said that now.
5 new players. It's going to be a new goalkeeper, a new right back, new centre midfielder, new centre half, a left winger, and a striker.
That's 6. Wow. I'd be intrigued that they all start. I think we all know that there'll be a lot of churn, a lot of movement and ins and outs. But for them to all start again, you just go back to Eddie Howe is falling into this position where he's going with the players he knows and what he'd give them, and he's falling back onto it. So, look, he got the result against Brighton. It'll be interesting to see what happens against Forest. But again, it just feels like this is all kind of just going to end up as more of the same. But it's the players that will change everything. And if the window goes well, then, that might complement Eddie Howe. And actually, it all kicks off as it did in the past. Speaking of Forest, lads, I'm going to push you for predictions, please. So, question 1, which will be mainly yes or no. Do you think he goes with the same or a very similar team and setup? And then question 2, what is your score prediction? Alan, you can go first. You're going to have the more difficult questions this week, like, do you take this woman to be your wife? However, let's just go with those questions to get you warmed up.
I think you see a couple of changes that Joe Linton comes back in. I think Gordon might start. But they'd be kind of the 2 changes I see happening. And I see us winning 1-0.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. Interesting.
Krisho, same questions.
Interesting. Yeah. Is Morgan Gibbs White injured or available, or is he out with his?
They haven't decided. He's supposedly available tomorrow for that Europa League game. If he plays that, I can't see him playing against us, because that was a horror injury. You could literally see his skull.
You can see his skull.
It was rough. He shouldn't be allowed to play because of that. That's like mental. But
I was kind of thinking, like, if he heads the ball, like, would it not split open the bloody?
I think it was glued.
Jesus Christ. Anyway, look, I'm slightly off topic there. It's just look at it. It's whether he kind of really plays and gets involved. I think Anderson might do us a favor as well, because he is Geordie at heart. But because he's going to go to the World Cup anyway. I think that Joe Linton definitely will come back in, and I think Ramsdale will come back in. I know that sounds insane, but I think Ramsdale
See
comes
it
back
after a
in.
win.
And I think that Wissa has a big part to play in this game. Don't ask me why, but I can smell it. And I think we win 2-0. Forest have a good couple of chances, and they probably hit the crossbar within the first 10 minutes, but we win 2-0. And Wissa scores, which is a crazy thing for me to say, but that's what I think is going to happen.
Well. That would be a turn-up for the books. I mean, fair play to him if he does, but yeah, that would be a turn-up for the books. I'm probably thinking a draw here. Now, Forest do have to play Villa in the semi-final of the Europa League. And I suppose it'd be interesting to see if they're gassed after that or not. But they have been playing really well under Vitor Pereira. So you could look at our record. We've won 5 in a row, lads. 2 of those were away and 3 at home. But I still think that they're on a bit of kind of flying at the moment in terms of their form. I think a draw wouldn't be the worst result in the world. So, yeah, probably looking at something like a 2-2. It's when you looked at last week, we were playing Brighton and they were absolute bogey team. We hadn't won there in something like 7 or 8 games. So this on paper, we are Forest bogey team. So yeah, let's see. But yeah, I think a draw wouldn't be the worst result in the world. Given the way they're playing as well. Alan, question. One more for you. Where will everybody be watching this game at the weekend?
So there'll be a couple of places watching this. Bleecker Street Bar, obviously, as we always are in Bleecker Street every single day of the week. We also have Quinlan's Bar in Cork, which is on 18 Watercourse Road in Blackpool. But then for the 3rd time this season, I think, we have the lads down in Ennis, County Clare in Maroney's Bar on 9 Lower Market Street. So we've 3 meetups: Maroney's Bar in Ennis, Bleecker Street in Dublin, and Quinlan's Bar in Blackpool, County Cork. So if you're anyway around any of them 3 counties, get yourself in, get yourself watching with us, scream your head off. We're generally there an hour before kickoff. Generally, don't want to say we're always there because I'm very, very fond of missing a bus and missing my way into town and arriving 10 minutes before kickoff. But anytime from 1 p.m. on Sunday, some of the lads will be there. I unfortunately will not be in the Bleecker on Sunday because I don't think I'll be allowed, unfortunately.
I was going to say, Christian, there's no way he's allowed to go to the Bleecker on the day after.
No. I will try to be there, but I doubt it. It depends on how late we wake up. So who knows?
Slightly earlier kickoff at 2 p.m. kickoff. So between the logistics of being sober enough to drive home for those involved as well, and drive safely, everyone drink sensibly, drive sensibly. But either way, meetups all around Clare, Cork, and Dublin. So try and get yourselves down there. And let's hope that next week, lads, we'll have smiles on our faces, not only after the wedding of Alan Williamson and the lovely Emma, but also another 3 points for Newcastle.
We will.
Fingers crossed.
We will.
One last shout out. We didn't get to talk about it, lads, because we weren't here last week. But if you somehow managed to miss it, get yourselves on to the Irish MAGS social media and the Premier League social media, because we talked about that Guinness documentary where they followed us around for the Bournemouth game. A lot of those clips and pictures are surfacing, including one of yours truly asleep on the Premier League Instagram channel when they took a nice photo of me on the flight over. As if the flight wasn't short enough, they woke me up with the flash of a camera. So thanks very much for that.
And Al and I are on the thumbnail, which somebody only pointed out to me.
Don't know how we managed to wrangle that. It's not like the 2 of us aren't on the internet enough, let's be honest about it.
Not at all. No. Nobody's seen enough of you lads. Alan in his stag get up, Tev with his birthday cake, all the lads that travelled. It was a great occasion. So get yourselves over to check those out as well on the Irish MAGS social media and on the Premier League social media as well. That brings episode 124 to a close with a bang. This time next week, Alan Williamson will be a married man.
An honest man.
An honest man, more than us. Anyway, lads. Yeah, we'll see if he shows up.
Yeah.
Until then, thank you very much, everybody, for listening and watching. Thank you, Chrisio. Thank you, Alan. Check out all the links below in the description. Most importantly, including the GoFundMe link for the Irish MAGS Charity Cup.
Absolutely.
And check out the irishmags.com for more information as well. We'll be back next week for more Irish Magnus. So until then, how are the lads? Slán go fóill. We'll see you all very soon.
Slán a wallet. Thanks, lads. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Paul. Good luck.